Hi, everyone. Welcome to Barry McGuire's Creative Real Estate Education, special AFS version of Deal or No Deal. We've got Wayne here,
Hi.
as always, helping us analyze. And you got me, Donna. And so hopefully that's enough, guys. Come on. We noticed that Barry gets way more viewership than we do.
I was gonna say, I
Not
was
about
thinking about putting a poll together to find out, what people really like, because it seems like Barry gets way more viewers than we do, and I mean, I get it, but
Come on. Like, how do you do that strike a pose? That was,
you're asking the wrong person.
yeah. So.
But yeah, I'm gonna do a poll and see who's more popular.
I can tell you,
That's a tough one.
everybody but us.
We just need to keep raising the bar. We need to get more controversial. We need to get,
Well, we're going juicy. Today's a deal or no deal. I think it's juicy. So
those are your words. I posted
those
them,
are,
but those were your
those
words.
are my words. I own that. Yes. Oh, hi everybody. Look at we've got some people coming on.
Oh, look at everybody coming in. Yeah. They're listening. I shaved my beard today. And no big deal. It's just hair. But I thought it was super funny. I was laughing hysterically in the bathroom. Gabby came in, and because I just picked up my phone to unlock it, and it didn't recognize my face, so I got to redo the facial recognition again. Like, what the heck is going on? Why would this thing unlock? And look at that baby face.
There it is.
Yeah. It's I'll be growing it right back.
I thought they were talking about me.
Possibly. Holy guac! There is a lot of people coming in.
Yay! Everybody's interested. I think this is catching on. People are realizing the power of brainstorming these deals that are real deals, potential deals, and hearing how they can fit together and whether it can work. So I think that we've got getting momentum, guys.
They're slow learners. They're finally catching on that this is the most valuable show that we put on.
Mondays, 5 o'clock.
It's the war between Mondays and Thursdays.
Wow. No, it's not a war.
Okay.
We're all about the love.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're doing the deal or no deal.
We're doing. Yes. Hi, everybody. Okay, we've got a whole bunch of people today. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so the deal or no deal, obviously, it says AFS edition. Hey, I want to talk to you about that real fast. Why don't we do other types of deals? Why are we only doing AFSs? Should we do like flips or like JV deals or other kind of stuff?
Well, why can't this be one of those? Why did we slot it in AFS? Oh, because he wants to. Yeah, he did.
I don't know.
Well, of course we can. I think that right now, AFS is like it's the hot topic, and it's important right now because I think that more and more opportunities to help distressed sellers is coming down the pike. So.
Yes. However, I have a lot of people asking me, how do I know if I got a good flip deal? Or how do I know if it's a good wholesale deal? Like, how do I structure those kind of things? What's the good deal? So I think this deal or no deal could really grow into something a little bit more. I think maybe we should bring on some flippers and well, what does everybody else think?
Yeah, who cares?
Everybody else. I'm all
I think so. I mean, you guys are that are watching it. These are for you guys to learn from. If you have deals that you want us to look at, please send them on in. And then tell all your friends that to watch Mondays.
Send your deals to Donna, and we'll go through them as a group. Wow, lots of people into this. This is awesome. It's awesome. This agreement for sale. Do you want me to get right into it? Or do you have any other words from our sponsors?
We have sponsors. Budweiser, no.
Yeah, this agreement for sale, if I'm allowed to say it, is actually one that I was looking at. And another investor was looking at it they were doing all the work, and I was kind of analyzing it. So I'm quite familiar with this one. It's interesting. It's pretty much it's like every agreement for sale that you look at. I mean, you got your seller, and they have their belief on what they think it's worth and what they want, and they're very stubborn. And I think this is something that people struggle with quite a bit. That, how do I convince the seller? This seller, actually, oddly enough,
I would love to go back to how did this potential deal show up?
Oh, I was about to tell you. Oddly enough, this deal, they messaged me through Instagram, actually. So it was a referral from another investor, and another investor was looking at it, said, I don't think there's really much I can do here, but go talk to Wayne. Where was I going with this?
So this is that actually, Wayne, because you're known as the creative guy, or?
Yeah, I always say that they come to me, and it's true. It's once you get known as that person, that problem solver, stuff just randomly shows up in your DMs and Instagram, which is the weirdest spot. That's where he found me. But this guy right out of the gate said, I'm open to rent to own, seller financing, agreement for sales. I didn't even say anything. This is literally in his first message he sent to me, and said, you were referred to me as the guy. So this person already has a grasp and an understanding, I assume, of seller financing strategies, agreement for sales, rent owns. The seller is an investor. I don't, he owns rental properties. Let's just put it that way. Is he savvy? That's open for discussion. But this person knew enough to know that I'm about creative strategies. He owns properties. He's been renting properties out for 14 years. So I'm just looking at this message real fast. Would you be able to share some math that would make a deal a real deal? Thanks. Variety of them, please. That's actually
last week. We were talking about doing.
Yes, a math session.
Yeah.
I love math. Well, if you guys want a math session, say yes, in the comments there. What would you want to see it look like, Donna?
The math session?
Yeah. Just like take a deal and go through the math of determining, the profits, or how would we make that work? Any ideas?
Yeah, I have some ideas.
Okay. We can discuss that later. We got another mystery user here. I'm very close to my first one dang deal with a JV partner. Stay tuned. All right.
We will. Yes.
And for anyone, just there's plenty of people that it says Facebook user here. That's because what you need to do is you need to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and authorize them, authorize StreamYard the access to show your Facebook profile picture and your name, so we know who you are when you're talking. I'm gonna go right into it. I'm gonna go right into the slides. We're gonna pull us from the screen. So bye, Donna. And I'm going to remove that comment real fast here. So this deal or no deal is a desperate, tired landlord. And just recently, this landlord investor had a bad run with tenants. So the last one did some damage to the unit. The flooring's been beat up. There's chips in the paint and in the drywall, and just a rough tenant. I wouldn't say that there's holes in the wall or anything like that, but it needs a freshening. It needs new paint, needs new flooring, baseboard, just a good clean. So he's fed up and he's done. This is when I use the air quotes for he's an investor. Not every one who owns real estate is, a sophisticated real estate investor. Some people just buy properties and they wing it, and they tend to have more of these run-ins with bad tenants than savvy investors. But I digress. When this seller reached out to me, he was very, very eager to do an agreement for sale or a rent to own He was open to creative strategies without even me bringing anything up. I was just listening. And that's because his current mortgage is close to what the property is worth. So there's not a whole lot of equity. He knows he can't sell it on the market. He knows it needs work. So he's just open to some creative stuff.
So, yeah, Wayne, he hasn't tried to sell it otherwise? You're his first stop?
From my understanding, he's spoken to a bunch of investors. I did know that. He's spoken to some investors about it. The fact that he knows what an agreement for sale is and he's not in our circles makes me think that maybe someone made the pitch to him already. But I'm not 100% sure. I'm just going off the information that I have. And as I said earlier, he has been investing for 14 years and has other properties. Sorry, I was just reading some messages here quick while I was flipping over. So the seller was initially asking for $194,000. That's what his list price was. The current tax assessed value is $175,000. After doing a little bit of research, we determined the value was sitting somewhere between $170,000 and $180,000, approximately. It's a 3-bedroom townhouse in the West End, near the West Edmonton Mall. Relatively good area, good condominium, and it's an end unit as well. So there's, from what I understand, there's only one neighbor or no neighbors. I remember seeing a message saying there was no neighbors, but it's an end unit in a townhouse complex. The first mortgage that the seller has on it is $149,400, and then he also has a line of credit as well on it for $40,000. So the total amount owing is $189,000. So as I said before, we assume the value is probably around $170,000 to $180,000, but the seller owes $189,000. Now, if the seller,
so you guys can see that I made a mistake there. It should be 189,400.
right?
That was me. I own all that. Sorry.
So if the seller sells for $194,000, then without a realtor, then after closing costs, they'll probably get $5,000 out, which you can understand. You know, no one's going to pay $194,000 for it when it's only worth $170,000, $180,000. So he's in a bit of a pickle. It's a tough situation, and that's ultimately why I believe he was so open to seller financing.
Sure.
So here's the numbers that we know. Again, after doing some research, we determined the projected market rent would be about $1,200 a month. The seller's first mortgage payment is $735 a month. It's a reasonable 2.99% interest rate. The payments on the HELOC are $82 a month. That's a 2.45% interest rate, so that's good too. Condo fees are $353, which are reasonable for a townhouse in Edmonton, in that area. Property taxes are $1,632 for the year, but it was paid already. So for next year, the payments will be, I wrote it down here, $136 a month. And then they put down $12 a month for insurance, which I think it would be a little bit more closer to 30 or 40, but we can go with 12 if that's where that's what they're paying. So based on those numbers, not including the property taxes, it would be positive cash flow of $106 a month, which is good for a townhouse. However, again, the property taxes were not included. So if you add 136, it would be negative $30.
And yeah, that's if it is always rented. No repairs, maintenance, right?
That's it. They didn't put anything here for repairs and maintenance. They didn't put anything here for vacancy. Now, that's just normal basic math. And again, I'd love to do a math session because this is just normal numbers for townhouses in our market in Edmonton.
I don't think this adds up.
The math?
Yeah.
Did
You
you do
have,
the math?
well,
Or did I do
it right now, and just the mortgage and the condo fees is 1088 plus 1088 plus 80 is
Oh,
11
you're absolutely right. It's the math is
1170.
off.
Yeah.
Is,
So I think it's break even right now.
it's extremely off. Yes. Total payments without property taxes is 1182. So it's actually $18 a month cash flow. I don't know how that got through. I apologize. So if it's 18 right now, it's $18 a month cash flow. But next year, once you got to add in monthly property taxes, it would be negative 118. Now, keep in mind, obviously, the seller added in a HELOC. So without the HELOC, it would be better. But townhouses, they're not the best cash flowing investment right now in our market. I mean, the rent isn't high enough to cover the expenses. So it's about as good as you're going to get for a townhouse, for an agreement for sale. Before I switch slides, I just want to check someone already says no deal. Like we're not even done.
And be careful. That's a trap to go no deal too quickly. Remember what we're doing in this is that you can't say no deal. You have to find alternatives.
That is the best part about deal or no deal is because I don't know why we say no deal then. It should just be deal. Like, what's it going to take? That's what I love doing as well. That's why I love this so much is that this isn't about a deal or no deal. It's about what would it take in order to make this a deal. Right.
Right. Okay.
One other comment here. I didn't read it ahead, but the market value was lower than the balance.
That's on our investor spotlight. Aurora's deal. Maybe we need to do something like this, Wayne, where the seller gives cash up front and then payments for 3 years, just like Aurora did.
Well, I never got into the fact that this seller is he's a know-it-all. That's what I said. Like, it's your stereotypical, they have their beliefs. I was trying to be nice, but the seller's a bit of a know-it-all. He's been doing it, for a long time. This house is worth significantly more. There's a few more, comments that I'll add in on the next slide, but, Grant's absolutely right. They didn't have all the cash pay at once, so financed it with Aurora. Seller gave $5,000 cash up front, then, monthly payments for their yeah, absolutely. That's, that would be the way that I would do it, but that would be ideal. It's funny. This Facebook user said, and let's not forget the condo fees will probably go up in 2021. In the next slide here, you'll see. First thought that the seller had was that property taxes will be cheaper next year and the rents will go up.
Of course.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, sir. That's reassuring. So what the seller ended up offering to us was that he $189,000 plus he wanted a $5,000 deposit now for him to hold it for 4.5 years. The buyer also pays all of the legal fees, so the seller's legal fees. And then at the end of the 4.5 years, when it matures, he wants an additional $2,500. So if you add up the $189 plus the $5,000 deposit plus the $2,500 upon maturity, that is a total price of $196,500 for a 4.5-year AFS.
Sorry? 189 plus 5 plus 25.
Yep. 196,500. Is my math
plus,
right?
Right. Plus legal fees.
Plus legal fees, yes. So it'll probably be, well, I mean, to have an agreement for sale contract done, we're looking at what, $1,500 to $2,000 for the buyer's legal fees. The seller's legal fees would probably be an hour or 2 hours worth, so $400 to $800 to review. There is an option for another renewal for another 5 years on top, and the seller is asking for an additional $5,000 to renew it. So that'd be a total of 9.5 years. So that's quite reasonable for an extra 5 years if you think about it.
Mm-hmm. The mortgage pay down would definitely get rid of that plus. So.
Right. So long as you're not overpaying too much. Art Kitchener says, get him to take care of his HELOC and renew at a better rate. Yeah, that's definitely possible. He just got this rate 6 months ago, which is 2.99. That's not the best rate, but if the seller has other properties that, it might not be your TD Canada or, your Scotiabank rates, it might be, the best that he can get based on the portfolio that he has. One user says here, could reduce the offer price by the real estate fees he would save. Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of arguments to be made. Our standard arguments would be, hey, you're saving realtor fees, which are $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. You're saving 4.5 years worth of mortgage cancellation penalties, and we all know that that's pretty significant. Considering interest rates have gone down now, that means that the bank would be losing significantly more. So I don't want to go too deep into the math of the interest rate differential for banks, but if you cancel your mortgage early, the penalty that they charge you is they pretty much want whatever that they were owed, that they're going to lose out on, right? You locked into a 5-year fixed term. They're expecting 5 years worth of profits. And if you're canceling 6 months into it, then they're going to get what they're owed. And because interest rates have gone down significantly, in order for them to reallocate those funds and investments into another mortgage, they're going to lose. So you're probably looking somewhere in the range of $15,000, $20,000 worth of penalties. Great argument to be made. This seller's stubborn though. And yes, definitely saving his credit score. The big motivator for this seller was that done. I don't want to be a landlord anymore. Units. They just trash it.
Wayne,
since we've had the initial conversations, the seller is. Pardon me?
Out. You're cutting out.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah. Now I can.
Okay. The big motivator for the seller was that they didn't want to be a landlord of this property anymore. They've had enough bad tenants, and the house or the townhouse was not in good condition at that time. Now, since we've had the initial conversations, the seller has gone in and cleaned it up, and let's just say cleaned it up. It's not repaired, it's not painted, it's not new flooring, but they tidied it up from the mess that was left. It's still vacant, and we're in December right now, so you can pretty much assume that you're not going to find a tenant, a good one, for a while. Nobody wants to move in the winter. Nobody wants to move over Christmas and New Year's. But the seller has been renting it out for years and is not unfamiliar with being a landlord. So this isn't like a first-time landlord where they're scared of it. Worst case scenario, the seller could always go find another tenant. And that's kind of where the stubbornness is coming from. He wants out, but he has options. He could just rent it out again and wait till spring. He believes that prices are going to go up, that rents are going to go up, that property taxes are going to go down. If anything, he's an optimist. Is the seller thinking he is bringing value to the deal? So he asked for $5,000 plus $2,500 as a fee. The $7,500 that he's adding on is over. I think he just wants some cash out of it. He doesn't want to sell it for what he owes. He owes, what did we determine he owes?
189.4.
189. So the seller doesn't, because he doesn't want to sell it for $189,400 because he would break even, right? I don't know how long this person's owned this property, but at some point they had at least 20% equity, right? And Don and I, sorry, I don't want to go off too far on this, but Don and I were discussing this beforehand. And in order for that seller to get that line of credit, the bank would not lend them more than 80% of the total value of the property. So based on that, at the very least, we have 189,400. That would have to be 80% of the value at the time that they got that line of credit. So at some point, the townhouse was worth $240,000 minimum in order for them to get that loan. So what I'm trying to say is that I don't think that was anytime soon. So at some point, this townhouse was worth over $260,000, and now it's worth like 170, 180. So this seller's, in their mind, they're taking a huge hit, and to walk away from it with zero money is a little hard on the pride. So I think that's why the seller is like, I just want to get $5,000, $7,000 out of this, if that makes sense. Sam asked, I
agree, Sam. He's not really motivated. He's distressed, but he's not motivated.
Correct. That's a good analysis, because you're right. This person isn't motivated. They're not desperate, but stressed. So that he is looking for a solution, but he definitely still has other options available. And this is kind of where that win-win comes into play. You got to find something that works, that solves his problem, but also is a win for you, because you don't want to be inheriting their problem. You don't want to be overpaying $25,000 over the actual value of the property. If you do, that's fine, but I say that's fine, but you need to make sure that your risks are covered and that it's worth that risk for you. Like the reward outweighs it.
Right. And we talk about that, at least in our focus workshops, where price versus terms, right? Sometimes the price isn't as important as the ability to get in and get going on a deal. So
if he is a seasoned investor, he knows that selling low is a poor business decision. Yes. Yes.
Was holding on to a dog, right?
How many dogs does he have? If he was buying up townhouses in the peak, I mean, I'm just going based off of my understanding of the Edmonton market. The last time townhouses in that area were worth over $260,000, we're talking 2008. So he might have bought right at the peak before all the value started going down. And if he bought one of those at that time, how many more does he have? So, and these properties are probably just killing them if they're negative $100, $200, $300 a month each, right? He's been investing for 14 years. I believe he has quite a few properties. So This is all just information, and this is what we do when we're looking at deals like this. We try and get as much information as possible, and we try and paint the best possible picture that we can to get a good understanding of what their motive is, because they don't always tell us necessarily all the problems that they have, right? So you gotta dig deep and analyze very carefully the information that you do have to try and paint a picture to determine their motive, to determine if this is something that you can actually solve for them. I wish they would just give me a pamphlet and tell me all their problems, all their numbers and everything, but they don't, right? I'm just going to scroll back.
Yeah.
What's that, sorry?
Next time they'll give it to you.
Yeah, it depends on how charming you are. Donna, is it okay if I pull you back on the camera?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not doing anything inappropriate, so it's okay.
I'm just going to scroll back. We had a bunch of comments before. And I want to go through those, but add in what you think, add your input. Is this something that can be done? Do you have any ideas? Do you have any questions about the details that we provided? Leave them in the comments below. We'll go through them. This is a team game. We're going to figure it out. We got to figure out a way to get this done. So imagine you really care about this person. You need to find a way to get it done.
So your seller offered this deal. So my first thought would be that great that they're offering it, but definitely needs a counter offer. So if we work to some numbers, if take out the $5,000 down, maybe leave the $2,500 after the 4.5 years. But even then, you're depending on the mortgage pay down to get that money to pay him, because you're not getting any in the cash flow to put aside.
Right. Yeah, I started doing that earlier and I forgot to finish. I was trying to figure out ballpark what the mortgage pay down would be, but if you assume your $735 payment and at 3%, it's normally half goes to principal, half goes to interest. Let's say $400 a month is $4,800 a year for 4.5 years. Now, obviously, it's compound interest and everything else. It doesn't add up that way, but just to get a ballpark. We're looking at about $22,000 worth of mortgage pay down for 4.5 years. And if the value is currently at $170,000, what price are we going with? The 196 or the 191?
Well, we can't go with 196.
No.
You can't. So there's our first part of no deal.
Right.
If seller is firm that that's the only deal that can be made, I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay, so we're going to go with 191.5. I'm going to run it up to 192 just to keep the math and explanation simple. If we're going to pay 192, so that's the outstanding balance of 189 plus the $2,500 worth of deposit that this person wants. And you've overpaid, it's worth 170 and you've overpaid at 192. You've overpaid by $22,000. Okay.
Which is exactly what would be the mortgage pay down. So you're too dependent on
the market.
Yeah.
If the house is still worth 170 in 4.5 years, which for those of us in Edmonton, that's what we're anticipating, you will have broken even. You'll be a landlord for 4.5 years. I hope that you have a really good exit strategy. I hope that the market goes up because otherwise you just used your 4.5 years of your time. Now, there is the option to extend an additional 5 years for $5,000, right? So if we can assume maybe another $25,000 or $30,000 worth of mortgage pay down for the additional 5 years, subtract your $5,000, that means for 9.5 years, you will have made about $25,000. I'm going to let everybody else determine what they think about this deal. And and if you have any thoughts of ways to solve this. This could be the first of the fire sale.
I think the first step would be to do the walk it backwards, the numbers with him. So he has a clear picture of where he's really with not paying realtors. Take realtors out. If he's an investor, he assumes he can sell without a realtor.
Yeah.
Old school investors. That's what they did. They didn't need realtors. I think that attitude has changed a bit now. I think realtors are a lot more savvy on the investment side, and especially the creative. They're learning more and more about it. So there's that. But the mortgage payout, I mean, that's stuck. There's no negotiating like realtors. So.
Someone might come along and take this opportunity because they see it's only $5,000 down, which is kind of scary. And that's what worried me, because a lot, they talked to a lot of investors. I saw a realtor share this recently as an opportunity. I don't know if they had an option in it or whatever else, but I saw a realtor talking about it. And I thought, I really hope that, they don't get suckered into that.
That's why people need to be in this group. Learn how to recognize real deals, not some of the, Roman Seniak, he hates it when I steal his quotes, but his quote of sometimes the best deals are the ones you don't do. You have to be careful you don't get sucked in by the opportunity. I was just talking nice about realtors, and then you tell me that a realtor is. I guess it is an opportunity for. I don't know.
Okay. This person here says, see if he has other properties that you could package together to make it more palatable to him and has an upside to you. That's definitely a possibility. I'll take one of your dogs if you give me a pony. I don't know. Fill in the blank for me, Donna.
Way to go, Wayne. Lady's blushing too. Oh, good.
Oh, now you can see it. You can see it now. Man, like the light is really reflecting off my face too. Back. I do have a bunch of questions in here. Yes, I totally agree with this comment, by the way. That would be a way to make it work if you find a better deal. Donna, frozen?
Yeah, you're frozen.
Was my video frozen?
You're okay. It was. You're good now.
Okay.
If only there was a place where you could buy computers.
Thanks, Donna. Eileen says we should do kitchen table talk first, right? Absolutely. Yeah, the best way to do this, as Donna said, is just to work your numbers back so they have a good understanding. That was done. We did work the numbers back, but it was the right decision to do. But the seller is stubborn, and the seller believes that real estate's coming back. And
can I ask, Wayne, what number you got to walking back from, say, even if it's his asking price, if you walked it back, what number you came up with?
I wasn't involved in the conversation, but it was an explanation of, if we paid this, this is how much money I would make. And it was 0/negative. So you have to understand that makes 0 sense for me. So we need to figure out another solution. You've got a problem here. And by you keeping this for another 4.5 years and waiting to sell, you're actually going to make 0. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Whoever takes this, whether you keep this or I take this, someone's making 0. So let's work on it. Maybe it's time to think about cutting your losses, because you've had enough bad tenants come through here. The next one, it might cost you more. And this is burning a hole in your pocket too. I mean, how much negative cash flow is this person paying? Samuel asks, how is the line of credit works? Is that attached to the house? Yes, it's a home equity line of credit. The interest rate was 2.45%. So reasonable. I think the payments were an extra $82 a month.
Is it maxed out?
That's a great question. I'm not 100% sure on that one. It's a good question to ask. Cheryl asked, is this a single family home? Could you do a suite and increase the value? No, it's a townhouse. It's a 3-bedroom townhouse in the west end of Edmonton. That's good. Kevin Cooper says, hope is not a good strategy. I have never heard that before, but I'm definitely going to use that in the future. George Clark says, why not counter at $170,000 and give him the other amounts that he's asking for? So give him the $5,000 deposit and the $2,500 at the end. I'll get you to clarify it in the comments here, and I'll catch up on it after. But that would require the seller to come up with. Oh, he owes $189.
Yeah, $20,000.
The seller would have to come up with $11,500.
19.
5,000 plus 2,500 is 177.5, and he owes 189.
Well, but you wouldn't be giving that right now.
Right. Oh, the 5,000 now. So yeah, I see what you mean. The seller would have to come up with 15,000 then, right now, and then you would give the seller back 2,500 at the end for the additional deposit, which is silly. Sorry, not your question or your comment isn't silly. It's trying to figure out the logistics of that.
Well, that's an Aurora deal.
That's an Aurora deal. For anyone who wasn't around last Monday, we did an investor spotlight with Aurora. Was that last Monday? And she worked out an arrangement with the seller. I'm going to scroll back here because someone brought up the details of it. Do you remember the deal? Oh, so the seller gave Aurora, the investor, $5,000 up front, and then $695 a month for 3 years afterwards to make up for the, how much was it? It was like $25,000.
Something, yeah, it was quite a bit.
Because the seller owed more than what she paid for. So it's a great way to do it. Well, that seller was motivated.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the seller would be open to something like that based on our conversations. I'm sorry, just 1 second. The comments are just flying in here. I'm having a hard time keeping up. Give him the numbers, then show him what you can pay. Let him sit with it and let him come back to you. Literally what I'm doing. But I'm not putting too much energy into that deal. It's we set it up in a way just like I always set up deals. You build a relationship, you empathize, you give them all the information, you give them an offer, and then they turn down your offer, and you say, okay, I'm going to continue to think about this. You continue to think about this. If anything changes, you mind if I follow up with you in the future? And that's it. Every now and then you just check in with them. You're just waiting for them to have that moment. They might not be desperate. They might not be motivated now, but there most definitely, for this person, will be a time in the future where that will change and they will become motivated, and you want to be the person that they call, not the number on the yellow sign, not the realtor, you want to be the person they call. So you got to leave a really good impression with them. Someone asked, was the line of credit used on this property for renovations? I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. The finishing work in the townhouse is dated 1990s, early 2000s. So I doubt the money was used for that. The money was probably used for another investment or whatever he's into. What are you giggling about?
Whatever he's into. We don't know. And he's locked again. I think that's a really good Facebook user there. Says, if he's stubborn. What's that? He's again frozen. No, you're good now. Talk fast. There, yes.
Yeah, sorry. I will definitely buy that new computer this week. This is really annoying. I apologize. If he is stubborn now, he could be worse to deal with later. Yeah.
Very good point.
That is a very good point. You need to be interviewing your seller as much as they're interviewing you, right? You need to know that this isn't going to be a problem in the future. I tend to lean more towards the grateful sellers, the ones that are thankful for you to solve their problem, not the ones that are difficult because they might be difficult with you in the future. This is a relationship. You need to be able to trust that person. Yes, you've got a contract that says this person does this and this person does that, but at the end of the day, it's a piece of paper, and you don't want to be getting into deals to go to court. So yes, it's a very good observation. Tammy, thanks for sharing, but not ideal deal. But what would you do? What would you do, Tammy?
This is your grandpa's house. What are you going to do? How do you help him?
We're not making it easy on them because this deal is very difficult. At this particular point, you're kind of waiting out the seller, in my opinion. You're building that relationship, you're building that trust, and then eventually they're going to have that moment. Now, one alternative way to make this deal better is time, right? Real estate is all about time. It's not about, sometimes you can make money fast cash, right? Rapid cash. But other times, you're investing for the long run. So getting a longer term, maybe not adding the extra $5,000 for additional 5 years. What if you got it for 9.5 years? How would that change things? Still not the greatest, but but your mortgage pay down would be somewhere around, say, $50,000, $60,000, and you're overpaying by 19, 20. That's not too bad, actually. I want to go back into, I want to do the math in the future, because a lot of people, a lot of new investors and even seasoned investors, they don't actually know how much profit they're making. They just buy a rental property, they look at the cash flow, and that's all they do. And meanwhile, they look at it and they're like, oh, that's like $4,000 a year. Meanwhile, they're going and doing a joint venture for 50-50. And how much are they making? $4,000 a year. So it's sometimes less. right? So I think I actually, yeah, like I'm going to put my foot down. I think we really should do a math one because it's
put your
expectations. What's that?
You're going to put your foot down.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys saw it here. Okay. Wayne has put his foot down.
I see a lot of people making that argument or saying things like that. We're like, oh, that's not enough money. It's only $50,000 for 10 years or $40,000 for 10 years. Meanwhile, that's exactly what they're making on a joint venture because you're only getting 50% of the profits. So understanding and setting your expectations might actually make this deal a little more appealing. Rather than going and hunting for a joint venture partner to come with money and everything else, maybe you can do your own deal and not have to hunt for joint venture partners. Food for thought.
I was looking at it to see if there was some sort of joint venture or some sort of fix and flip it could be, but I don't see it with these numbers that any other creative strategy would work.
Unless
RTO
it was
exit.
RTO exit. Again, you can't sell it to a tenant buyer for more than what it's worth for multiple reasons. One, that wouldn't be nice. It's not, like, you know,
it wouldn't be nice. We don't do that.
No, like, why would you try and fool someone into something?
And then the banks happen anyway.
That's the second thing. A bank's going to want an appraisal anyway, so they're only going to give them a loan for what it's worth or based on what it's worth. So it's not going to work anyway. So what you sell it to the end buyer for is it needs to be pretty much worth what it's worth. And we're not in Edmonton. We're not in a hot booming market. So if it's worth what it is today in 4.5 years, then you have no benefits of appreciation. And you have no benefits of principal pay down because you overpaid. So even with an RTO, it's still the dog and pony show.
The price of experience right there. Hey, do it just for practice.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
26,000 seller took the hit. I'm just going through all the comments. Some of them are conversation, some of them are questions. Eileen, this one is not motivated, so just walk away.
I tend to agree with that. I'm not a big fan of having to sell your services. If you're coming in with the honest intent of helping and being a solution provider, the selling isn't really more than explaining what it is you do and how you do it. When you have to convince someone that you're helping them, that doesn't feel good to me.
We talked about this a bit in the last agreement for sale course we did in August. And stop trying to convince. What I basically said was that stop trying to convince people to do this and just focus your energy on finding people who could benefit from this. Don't call up, just every house that you like on MLS and say, hey, would you do an agreement for sale for me? Here's all the reasons why. Try and focus on problems that you can solve. Now, that might mean you might not always get to the house that you wanted. Opportunities are wherever there are opportunities, and that's your responsibility to determine whether that's an opportunity you want to take on or not. But focusing on the problems is a much better way to finding deals.
Could you fill this one?
If the line of credit was used on another property, can Barry show his face so we can get the numbers up a little bit?
Hey, Barry, we figured it out.
What did you guys figure out?
We figured out that they want you, not us. There, boom! Our viewership just went way up.
Thank you. If the line of credit was used on another property, then it should not be included in an offer. You should be responsible for it, right? That is a very good. Sorry, our numbers actually went down. Just throwing it out there.
Wow.
To answer that question, yes, that is a valid point. Some might argue that the seller should be responsible for their own line of credit payments. Absolutely. They took that money out. That's not, but it's arguable. I mean, you're trying to make it win-win. And just if that were a full mortgage, it didn't, like if it were 189, what does it matter where the money went? They have that loan on there, whether it was $189,000 worth of mortgage or 150 and 30. It is what it is. Do you think that the $82 would change your mind? The $82 a month in interest payments, would that change your mind on this deal? Would it make it a better deal?
Well, it isn't the 82. It's the number attached to it, the 40,000 that is still going to be owed.
I thought the question was, shouldn't they be responsible for the interest payments?
Oh,
I don't think that person's gonna take off, pay off that $30,000 loan. You're right, though. You're absolutely right. But
yeah, so as much as we talk about mortgage pay down, there's still going to be that line of credit that isn't paid off.
Mm-hmm. Art says, let him sweat it out over the winter and come back to him once he's cooled off a bit. Maybe he'll change his mind. Yeah. When I air quote investor, there's a lot of investors who are just not savvy. They take the first person with cash. They don't screen tenants like sophisticated real estate investors do. They don't educate themselves. They don't take courses. I've been doing this for years. I know what I'm doing. They're typically the ones that have the horror stories, the most stories of bad tenants, because they don't really necessarily know what they're doing. And this person strikes me as that type of a person. So I do believe it's inevitable that he will have another bad tenant in the future. And that's why I'm okay with building that rapport, building that relationship and that trust, and just waiting. It's not a great thing to say out loud, actually. You're kind of waiting for him to fail, but it's the truth. I mean, there's nothing I can do about the decisions that person makes. All that I can do is I can be there, offer my services, my help. If they're not ready for it now, then to let them know that it is available in the future if you do decide to. But I leave it at that. But that's just me analyzing, you know what I mean? That's me painting a picture of this person. The more I understand, the more I can plan, right?
So Wayne, what would make this a deal for you?
I'm going to pretend to be frozen.
Well, if you're leaving the door open for him to come back to you, that means you see a potential in this. Learning
with the fact that it's worth between 170 and 180, I would be willing to pay 180. Mm-hmm. Based on that, I was thinking of waiting another year and then following up. And, the seller would have paid off another $5,000 on the mortgage. And I was going to reassess at that point and determine, whether the motivation had changed, and to see maybe if the value of the properties went up, if it was worth 185 at that time. I can justify paying $5,000 over market value, but the terms need to reflect that. I need to make sure that I've got at least 7, 8, 9 years. So it's tough. What the deals I used to do and the deals I do now are very different. And, would I have done this deal when I was first starting out? I would. I absolutely would, because I can see the value in that. Talk about this a lot about just getting started. Sometimes you don't get to pick the 10s and the 9s out of 10s and the 10s out of 10s when you're first getting started. You don't have the money. You don't have the resources. So you start taking some 3s and some 4s when you get started. Everyone does it. I'm not recommending you do. I'm just saying everyone does it. And that's what I did when I got started, and I leveraged that. So that now I can take on 8s and 9s. So you need to have a good understanding of where you are in your investing career, and that will determine what types of deals you take on. But $5,000 down, you know, years ago, I think I would have taken the chance. This one's overpaying quite a bit though. So I say that I would be willing to pay $185 and pay $5,000 over and get a 9-year or a 9.5 year, knowing that I'm going to make about $45,000, $50,000 over 10 years. That seems reasonable to me. At 196.5, that's a little too risky, and I don't think I would put that on my family, because I think that there's a strong possibility that I could actually lose some money in this. That's my analysis of it.
Okay.
Grant says, get them motivated by taking them into the future, showing them their numbers on their current trajectory. Yeah, not just today as comparison to your deal. Wouldn't his own numbers be his motivation? Also, how could you utilize his unused HELOC balance to sweeten this for your end, given the low interest?
We don't know if there's any more room. We don't know if there's any unused HELOC.
Yes, on that portion of the comment. On the first portion, I completely agree with you, and I am super analytical, and I would just rip into him with all these different numbers, telling him all the reasons why he's screwed. And I would put my whole offer on that normally. I'm learning to be better at making my offers a little more emotional. Sometimes people, you could tell them all the reasons why they're screwed and why your solution is the only solution and why it's their best solution. But sometimes people are stubborn, and they could have it right in front of them, and then they'll still disagree with you. It's like, no, I'm just going to rent it out. I think the market's going to go up. I don't believe you. I'll be fine. Rents are going up. They've been low for too long. Interest rates are at the lowest. It's just, that's where the market's going, and they won't listen to it. One thing that you say. So it's tough to say. That's the approach that we had. We had the approach of trying to make him understand, that he's taking on a risk, and is it really worth being a landlord for a few more years to find out? But he didn't bite on it. But it comes down to negotiations on how you approach them. I'm not sure who this is, but they say, how much cash do you need to get started? Do you think that they're referring to this deal? The deposit that the seller wants, if you're coming in late, the deposit that the seller wants is $5,000 up front for a 4.5-year agreement for sale. And then upon maturity, at the end of the 4.5 years, they want another $2,500. So a total of price of $189,000 plus $5,000 deposit plus an additional $2,500. So they want $196,500, and it's currently worth between $170,000 and $180,000. The condo fees will go up during that time as well. Not enough meat on the bone for this one. Yeah, condo fees don't ever go down. I don't think they've ever gone down. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of townhouses in Edmonton. They're starting to hover up to that $400 range, especially the ones built in the 70s, 80s. I'm seeing a lot of, I don't know if you've been noticing this, especially in Mill Woods, south side. I'm seeing a lot of townhouses getting new siding. The old wood and the stucco, they're all getting redone with vinyl and hardy boards. So because of that, and because of the roofs and everything else, I'm seeing a lot of condo fees start going over 400. And the rents haven't changed very much lately. It's because the rents are going down. It's making it so hard to cash flow in townhouses right now in Edmonton. Tons of comments today. I love it. At the end of the day, you can't help everyone. The seller may have to take a hit if he really wants to let it go. I agree. As much as you want to. The mortgage pay now is the short-term sharing. Yeah, for sure. But it's the only thing you can rely on, right? How do you calculate the ROI for this one? Well,
we're already 10 minutes over, Wayne.
Are we really? Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Zero.
Don't
zero.
you get that?
It's,
don't get
negative,
that pen out.
It's probably negative 10, 20%. Based on the numbers that we have right now, it would you would break even. You would pay $5,000 to make zero, and you wouldn't get that $5,000 back. So yeah, you're losing. But typically, what you do is you take your investment and divide it by what your profits would be. So I normally I don't account for cash flow because there is none anyways, but take your principal pay down and your investment, which would have been $7,500. Divide 7,500 divided by your profits, and that'll determine your ROI. Could he not attach that line of credit to the property he actually used it on? We don't know what he used it on, to be honest.
Yeah, Wayne did a kind of a throwaway comment there about maybe he bought another property with it or something, and I think we're hanging our hats on that detail too much. It's gone is the short answer. Money's gone.
If we use the scenario where we put $7,500 down, sorry, it would be 5,000 plus 25 plus 5, so $12,500, and we made 60,000. I always have a hard time doing the reverse ROI. Another time.
Wayne's going to do a special segment. Fun with math.
Well, 12,000, and you'd make 4 times that. So I always struggle with that. 400%, 300%, something like that. I believe it needs repairs now. Yeah. It will eventually repairs and maintenance. That's the big. I'm frozen. Yeah, I'm frozen. Okay, moving on. Risk of additional condo assessment. Yeah. Risks. There's a lot of risks in this one. Townhouses are they're tricky with agreement for sales. There's no shortage of them in our market, at least, and in Alberta, because of the fact that condo fees have gone up, and condo fees are going up as well because of all the natural disasters we're having in Alberta, between the floods and the fires and stuff like that. Insurance for condominiums have gone up, and that's been passed down towards the condo fees to make that up. So it's not just the deferred maintenance on older condominiums. It's also the insurance. The condominium insurance has gone up. And yes, of course, there's also all the rest that come with condos. Sewer repairs, roof repairs, new windows, anything exterior, the big ticket items. If you don't have a good solid condo board who's planning for this stuff in advance, typically that comes out of your pocket in the form of a special assessment. Okay, I will rip through these faster. Donna, you look like you're ready for dinner. I didn't realize so much time had passed. There's tons of messages today. There are much better opportunities out there. Run. Okay. Well, I'm agreeing, but I'm also trying to be optimistic. Thank you very much. And the deal is a no-go for me. Unless he comes back with a better deal, keep in touch with him. But the deal is not a win-win. Donna McGuire, it seems an hour is less. However, really appreciate you and Wayne Hillier for compiling this entire content and answering impromptu questions. Huge shout out to both of you. Well, thank you. I'm going to ask anyways, deal or no deal? Deal or no deal? What do you guys think? Do you think we can make it work? I don't know if on a 15-year agreement for sale will be worth it. Now, I feel optimistic enough that in 15 years, this property could be worth north of $200,000. I feel good enough about our market, even with inflation. It should be over 200 again at some point. That's three federal political terms. Someone's got to come in and do something. Something will change at some point. And
Hey.
Yes.
We're not going political here.
I'm just saying, it's almost 4 terms. 4 terms of someone coming in and maybe doing something different on a provincial or a federal level. I do believe at some point we could, it all comes in cycles, right? It can't stay down forever. But 15 years is a long time to wait.
There's just too much that could happen in 15 years.
Yeah.
You're hooking your what's that word called? You are hooking your star to an unknown ego-driven investor who's a little overconfident and knows better than you do. I'm not comfortable with that at all. He's not seeing solving a problem for him. So for that reason, to quote Dragon's Den, I'm out. I'm going to bring in all the great talk shows here. So
yeah, there's a whole lot of no's here. There's a whole lot of no's. But this is a good exercise. I think that we went through a lot of important things. You know, I wonder if everyone did the math initially to determine that it was actually going to be 0. I picked it up very quickly. I'm like, why would I do this deal if I'm going to make 0? Right. So the math is super important. You got to be able to analyze it very quickly.
Did you see what we're doing? What Barry gets to do on Thursday? We do these boring deal or no deals. Barry's having Dale Keller talk about evaluating properties. How to quickly, what are you looking for? So it's going to be very cool. That's Thursday.
That will be awesome. Let it go, let it go.
Oh, wait, I'm frozen. No, get it? That was a joke.
I didn't hear you said. I apologize.
To let it go. I said you're frozen.
Oh.
All right, okay.
Donna.
Wayne.
This was fun. This is real fun.
Always fun.
And
tell your friends, people. It's worth tuning in.
Yes. So we're gonna do a math one soon. We're gonna do maybe some deal or no deals with analyzing some flips, or maybe pitching a JV deal. Deal or no deal. Is it a good deal to invest in?
Oh, that could be fun.
I know. I came up with it.
Okay.
It would be a lot of fun. I think that would be really good, and maybe we can kind of focus on the how to structure a deal for a JV deal, how to make it appealing. Yeah. Anyways,
okay.
Barry McGuire last Thursday was awesome. Oh, Barry. What else, Barry?
Barry.
All right, Donna.
Okay. Thanks, guys. See you next time.